Hey, before we get in this episode, can you do us a favor? Will you go ahead and subscribe to the channel?
Will you ring that notification bell?
And if you would, give this video a like. Well, enough of that mumbo jumbo. Let's get to the episode.
Let's talk, developmentally speaking, glow up, and connecting through wrestling.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Developmentally Speaking Presents Glow Up. I'm Morty.
And I'm Brian.
And our guest today is Hollywood. Hollywood, thank you so much for being on here today.
Thanks, Morty. Thanks, Brian, for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, we have a basic set of questions we typically ask everyone, and they usually revolve around, like, the first question is, what got you into wrestling in general?
Right. I swear to God, you and I, this is going to be part one of our show because we have to come on for part two. So if we don't cover all questions, Morty or Brian, we could do part two, just saying. I got a lot to cover just because, you know, I did the pilot and all 4 seasons, so there's a lot there to talk about, especially all those people that came and went. So mine was an audition, kind of real close to the G.L.O.W Netflix. If anybody saw Netflix G.L.O.W, there was an audition. And, you know, back in 1985, I don't really remember a lot of girls my age wanting to be wrestlers. They wanted to be actresses. They wanted to be models. This just happened to be a small little, I shouldn't call it a small interview, but I was already working in a regular job, just a message on my machine that said, come to an audition for a sport show. They did not tell you the specific sport. So I went, so basically that's how I got in. I auditioned with quite a few girls. Mondo Guerrero was the trainer. Mondo trained us, and he needed, the show G.L.O.W needed 12 girls to do a pilot. So every time I would come back to the auditions or the training, excuse me, there was less and less girls. I'm noticing they're weeding this one out. This girl isn't there anymore. And they needed 12. They had 12 girls' names already, you know, on a board. And the characters were Hollywood and Vine, Tina and Ashley, Spanish Red, different girls, Americana, Tammy Jones. So I'm thinking, boy, I hope I don't know which girls I could be. But when they said, Jeannie, you're going to be Hollywood of Hollywood and Vine, I jumped. I'm like, that is a character that I'll figure out as we go on what she's about. But I knew that would be pretty cool for me. And so that's basically, we did the pilot. We sold the pilot to TV. I went to the NAPI convention, and I remember someone asked, did Hollywood really go to NAPI? Well, yeah, they took myself, Matilda the Hun, Tammy Jones, and Americana. We at that point in 1986, it was in New Orleans. So I went to New Orleans, and we pitched the show. There's 4 of us standing there with David McLean and our director, Matt Simber. Buyers were coming to the booth. If they liked what they saw on the little, you know, screen that we had, they bought it. And so they bought it. I quit my job, you guys, and if I didn't, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. So I did 4 seasons with them, and so much stuff happened, you know, or happened on the show. Lots of women coming back and forth, and lots of people quitting, people getting injured. But I was there, and I saw it all. If you want to know anything about G.L.O.W, I would say the people that have been there the longest would know. There are some ladies that embellish stories that are not exactly true, and I get that 35 years has passed, and maybe you forget a little bit, but I am in good company with our writer, who is Stephen Blantz. When I go to New York, I go and visit Steve. He was our main writer, and so he's got, he remembers quite a bit. So when there are certain things that I might ask, did this happen? Did that happen? No, this is it, you know. And so he'll always back it up with writing, and he doesn't type anything. He writes things out. He still writes things out. He's so old school. And he's a huge wrestling historian. So Steve will always put me in my place and let me know, you know, what station this was on, how many people attended here, you know. So, you know, as I said, as we get older, we forget certain things sometimes.
Yeah. How did it differ from season to season? Like you said, people would come, people would go, people would quit. You know, you were there from beginning to end, so how was it different as each season went on?
Well, we got away with a lot of things in season 1 and 2. Since it was a brand new show, we were doing things that you're not allowed to do today, and you weren't allowed to do when season 3 and 4 girls got there. Um, so the first season, kind of like the first thing that you always see a pilot, and then um, the show as it goes, they're usually, for me, the favorites because you're doing things, nothing is repeated. By the time season 3 and 4 came, the only originals left for our show was Nanuchka, myself, and Nanuchka. There's nobody else that did all the seasons. So, Nanuchka is a great person. Unfortunately, Mountain Fiji has passed away. Matilda has passed away. She did season 1 and 2, but she wasn't around for season 3 and 4. Um, so yeah, they did, but not to take anything away from season 3 and 4 because we had some girls, but some of those ladies were taking places of certain characters. So we had 3 farmers' daughters. When we had Tina and Ashley, all of a sudden we now have Roxy and um, why can't I think of her name? Tiffany, who was just awesome. Tiffany's was really good. She did kind of the same things that Ashley was doing. Ashley would come on and talk about Tim, and then Tiffany would come on and talk about somebody else. But some girls were taking places of others. And that's kind of hard to do too when you come in and now you're the new farmer's daughter or you're the new California girl. It's difficult to put your shoes in someone who was an original before you. So you really have to give, I would say, more than 100%. I would say you give 120%. And that's basically what I did on that show. To be hired on that show, I knew right away you have to stand out. And that's kind of street smart. That's why Hollywood is Hollywood, because she had street smarts. When they said which girl can ram their head and turn over on their back, I raised my hand immediately because I knew. I'm not afraid. I know what they want. Come on, wouldn't you, as a producer, want to know which people are ready to do these things without, So I kind of had a little street smarts back then, and I figured if I raised my hand first, that's going to get me my job, and it really did, because David McClain said, "We saw you do that, and in my eyes, you were the first G.L.O.W girl hired." So I think that was pretty. It works, kids. Give 110%. I promise. Give it your all.
That's a real honor for us to have the first G.L.O.W girl hired on our show. I mean, that's amazing.
Thank you, Marty. Thank you, sir.
I you're talking about. I find it amazing that when new people came in, instead of creating new characters, they just made them take place of the old ones. Like
they had some new characters. They had Thunderbolt and Lightning, of course. They did have, but people, they thought, what is popular? Well, California Girl is popular. She looks good. Let's find someone like her. The Farmer's Daughters, those are popular. Let's find another girl. But we also had new characters that came in. Daisy and Grimlina were new characters. Habana, Evangelina. We had other girls. We didn't have another Tara. The Southern Belles, I thought they were some neat characters. So no Southern Belles on season 3 and 4. We had Fiji, of course, but we had lost Little Fiji, so we didn't have a Little Fiji. Right. Yeah. So they did a little bit of both. So you have to give them credit.
Right. Well, I also know they had people on workers that would do double duty, like you had. I can't remember the name. Was it the Housewives?
The Housewives in season 1 and 2. I'll tell you why they did double duty. Basically, if you've ever seen any interviews with the two girls, they were sisters. They couldn't wrestle very well, and they didn't want to get hurt. So they thought, what else can we do? Which they knew, being sisters, that they had this good comedy thing together.
Right.
So they also played the Housewives, and they will tell you, our wrestling wasn't as good as we could expect. So we decided we're going to show you what else we can do. And Matt loved it. And he said, yes, let's use them as the Housewives. That's using your brain.
Yeah,
that's rebranding yourself, really well.
That's kind of what I did with myself, actually, because I realized that I'm not a great wrestler. So I went down the managing path in wrestling
Good for you.
instead, and I
But
use
you're
my.
still in it, and that is so cool. Do you know what I wish I would have done? As you get older, when you're younger, you want to be in the camera. You want to be a star. Everybody wants to be a star. But I really envy the people that are looking outside the box, like directing and producing.
Mhm.
I wasn't in that frame of mind back then, but boy, as I get older, that just, you're still in it. It doesn't
Hmm.
mean that you're not, just because you're not in front of the camera. Being behind the camera is pretty cool as well.
Mhm.
So, I get everybody wants to be a star, but not everyone is going to be a star,
Hmm.
Right.
unfortunately. Yeah,
So with a lot of the people we've talked about, there have been a lot of great friendships that have been bonded for from
for
doing
some,
glow, and for some,
absolutely.
right.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, okay, let me be. I've been in, besides Glow, that's 30 girls. I saw 80 girls go.
that's true.
Okay, 80, and some of them you make really good friendships with, and some you don't. You're just working with them. Some
Hmm.
people get along, and some people don't get along. Like the farmer's daughter and I, that was the perfect example for season one. We both went to the same high school. We knew the same people. We're only in our 20s, and I wanted to beat her, and she wanted to beat me. And there's these egos that are going back and forth. So you get how that works.
Hmm.
And we didn't see eye to eye because I wanted to win. And back in the 80s, if you were a heel, you were even though people were rooting for you, you didn't win 100% of the time. You know how that goes. So there is that, and a lot of people have a friendship, but not everybody in Glow are best friends, and they don't have to be best friends. They did their job,
Right.
and I'm keeping it positive because I want to keep it positive, but I wasn't there full time season 3 and 4, so I didn't hang out a lot with a lot of the girls. Like Lightning is a season 3 and 4 girl. I love Lightning. To this day, she's one of my best friends, only because we have a lot in common. We both like music and rock and roll, and that is in our livelihoods. She was somebody who was a drummer. I was somebody who is a guitar player for Gene Simmons and also for Ace Frehley, and so we have the the music bonding together besides wrestling. And I kind of just I wanted to have another life
Hmm.
um, besides Glow Girls. So I have my best
Understandable.
friends as well, and I like to keep them separate. I like to keep my Glow world and my wrestling separate from private life. I've
Hmm.
done that all my life. I don't put the two together. I rarely do.
And that's
But I'm
that's
telling you because we're
amazing,
interviewing.
right? That's amazing that you can do that because like
I
A
have
lot
to
of
do
people
that.
can't.
I know I
I
can't. I
know
know.
it creates too much drama. Can I
Yeah.
just say that? It's too much. I think we all need our individual lives separate
Hmm.
from our work,
Yeah.
Right.
no
I,
matter what that is.
yeah, and that you know I can't go anywhere without being hey Morty, which is my wrestling,
Right.
and like
Right. Well,
nobody calls me Matt anymore. It's Morty, So
yeah, it's Morty.
yeah, so I guess I
I
wasn't very
get
good
it.
at separating the two.
Well, and you know what? It's a different generation today as well. We didn't have these cell phones, right? We didn't have these computers. Also, because can you imagine if Glow was today, like Glow Netflix, it would be difficult for a lot of the ladies to walk down to the airport,
Hmm.
to the street, to do things. We had no idea how popular that we were because we didn't have this.
Hmm.
Right.
The only things that we had was mail, and we hardly got the mail. They didn't give us our mail. They didn't want us to know how popular we were, and maybe they just didn't want it to get to our heads. But again, I've been in other um, like different modeling jobs where you have 12 girls and there's always cattiness. There's someone who doesn't like this one. There's someone who's jealous of this one. There's someone who's insecure of that one. That's the bottom line, you guys. I think if you're looking for dirt on someone, I just think mind your own business. Let a person, that's how I feel. You know what? Who cares what you did 10 years ago? Who cares what you're doing today? As long as you and I are in the ring together and we're having a match together today, doing our job, that's okay. But to create problems is there's a problem with that person. And that's how I look at it. It's like, just mind your own business. You do you and I'll do me.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it should work. It's not that way though,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
So
Not everybody sees that.
No.
we were talking a little bit about the Netflix show, and we haven't talked much about that on here. But
Hmm.
when they were making that show, did they come to you or for to ask you about it or anything when they made it? What,
Yeah, wouldn't that have been nice? I'm sure you've interviewed a few of the other ladies. They probably told you the same thing. Unfortunately, they didn't come to any of the girls. They went to one of the farmer's daughters, Ursula Hayden, who has trademark. She got the trademark, and it doesn't matter if it cost $1 or a dime or $10,000. She has the trademark. So they went to her and they leased the trademark from Ursula. So Ursula sold that, leased that to them, and made a lot of money.
wow.
I don't think I know the other Glow girls didn't get anything from it, but here's the thing. She wasn't the one that was dating the person who had the right. So to me, maybe that's her compensation. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I didn't date the owner, she did. So maybe, and she went and got him, and good for her. We didn't see any money. It is the way it is. It's the way life works. So
Wow.
be it. And I'm glad for me that Netflix picked Glow up. I wish they would have used some of the ladies. I wish they would have not just looked at YouTube videos. It is not a carbon copy of our show by any means,
No.
but I think what they did with it, in my opinion, you have to make drama. If you do not have any drama and you have issues, you're not going to have an audience. So for me, it's a win-win. Anything that promotes our brand and keeps it going. I mean, we do. I can't even tell you how many LA Comic Cons I've done and wrestling conventions that I've done because more of that. I was
Right.
doing those before Glow Netflix, and then Glow Netflix came out, and now everyone's being interviewed, and
Oh yeah.
it's very cool. That
It's
was really cool. Yeah,
it's a cult following.
I can't.
It is. All these
Sure,
years
yeah.
later, you know, and it.
Yeah, who would have thought? I mean, seriously, Brian
Mhm.
and Matt, who would have thought that Glow Netflix would do a show about what we did 36 years ago? That's crazy.
And
So I love it.
I didn't get into it because of the Netflix show. I knew what it was, but there was also a documentary that they did
Mhm.
that was on.
In 2012, wasn't
Yes,
that cool?
yeah, and I loved that documentary. I watched
I
it.
kind of wish that they had so much stuff because there is so much that I had said, that a lot of the ladies had said, and a lot of it's cut out. So I wish, again, there's part two. I would have loved to seen Glow part two. Let's get all that. Let's get some stuff,
Yeah.
some more stuff that you didn't hear. I mean, there's a lot that the ladies talked about. I mean, when they went to everybody's homes and they interviewed us in like that week. That whole show was supposed to be about Ursula, and then everybody, their names are, I have their names here, Brad and Brett, who are out of Texas, wanted to know what happened to that show, but they were really going to do a documentary on Ursula, and then they met all of us girls, and they went, wait a second, they put on the brakes, let's interview these ladies, and that's how that came about.
Okay.
You are certainly busy these days. Before we wrap up, we'll just say part one today. Can you let everybody know?
Seriously, I'd love to do part two with
We
you.
will.
Awesome.
You want to let everybody know what you're up to these days, and
Yeah, well, okay, so before the pandemic, this is funny, only because it's weird how certain things happen when you're not planning for them. So I started a soap company called Hollywood Botanica, and it's just because I love things that are natural, no preservatives. So I looked up how to do it, and everyone says, oh, anyone can make soap. Well, not anyone can make soap. There's a lot of pros and cons to this, and learning temperature so I started making soap, and then I gave it away, and then some friends are like, you should sell it. So for over 3.5 years, I started selling my soap. Everything's natural in it. Like I said, I did a lot of due diligence. I watched the videos. I got the books. So I've been doing that. So it's a side gig. You're not going to get rich. I love it. coming off the road is great. This is what is calming. Some people like to bake. I like to make soap, and it's just a separate thing that I love doing. I'll get up early in the morning. Today I did tobacco. It's called bay leaf tobacco, so it's very masculine, unisex.
I was
And I
about
made
to
that
ask.
this morning. Oh, it smells great. You guys have to have some of that, okay?
Sure.
Yes. When it's done, it has to cure. So in 3 weeks, you'll get a bar. You're going to use it, and then you're going to let me know what you think. And then
Yeah,
we'll come on
fantastic,
for part
for sure, yeah.
and then we'll come on for part 2.
Okay.
But anyway, so yeah, so this I have the soap company. You know, we have lots of conventions. The conventions I have coming up. There's a Heroes and Legends in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
We'll be there.
They just got a hold
We'll
of.
be there.
Are you going to be there?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
That's
well,
only 6 hours from me. For real?
Yes.
I love it.
yes.
Oh, that's even. We should do the interview there.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
perfect.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
That might be kind of cool, guys. Okay, and then there's Califlower Alley Club. I've been to several of those, many of those. That's going to be in Vegas in September. LA Comic Con is coming up. It's in December, and we've been there several times. So I'll be there with a couple of the girls. And then my friend has a movie called Lake Norman. It's this old. What did I call it again? It's an old school horror with a modern twist. So I think, what would Jason, Michael Myers, and Leatherface do on their day off? So and I've always been about horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is about wrestling and horror movies. I even wrote a script with a friend. Gosh, it's old, but that I would love to produce that one. And it's called, gosh, it's so old now. I can't even, Deathmatch at Diablo.
Okay.
And of course, that's going to have wrestlers in it.
Oh,
You know,
sorry.
it'll be the same thing, old school horror with some comedy.
Awesome.
So yeah, there's always some things coming up, you guys. And then of course, if you guys are interested in following me at Twitter, it's Glow Hollywood. And if you're Instagram people, it's official Glow Hollywood. And if you still like Facebook, then it's Hollywood Productions. So I go across the board there on all the
Fantastic.
on all the social media. Yeah, pretty cool.
Yep. Well, we're looking forward to part 2. Also, seeing you at Heroes and Legends in Fort Wayne. It's awesome.
Yes,
yeah.
that would be good. Also, by the way, by the time I see you in October, or we talk on part 2, I'm working on that autobiography, and I have been. And the pandemic with the company that I was with slowed things way, way, way down. So I think we'll talk about 2, but we're working on that now. And Dan Murphy, who did Sisterhood of the Squared Circle, that's this book right here, will be co-writing for me. I'm not the best of writers. I can tell my story. So he's going to help me put it into words better. So that's Dan Murphy. So yeah, I've been working on it for a while. So I hopefully get that out by Christmas time. So we'll cross our fingers.
Awesome. And we'll help promote it, sure.
I would love that. You guys, and I'll get you, we'll get some more Glow Girls coming in here for you guys to interview in the meantime.
Fantastic. Thank you.
And you could share their stories.
Yes, absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
I think that's good for today for part 1. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We want to
Awesome.
thank Hollywood for being here. Thank you for everything you did for not only Glow, but women's wrestling and wrestling in general.
Thank you so
Definitely
much. And you
paved
know
the
what?
way.
If it wasn't for our, you know what, the sisterhood, the older, I don't like calling them that, but if it wasn't for some of these ladies, I wouldn't be talking to you, you know? Not at all. We wouldn't have the Mildred Burks and the Mays and the Gladyses and I can't even think of all of their names right now. The Bettys. I'm terrible. I caught me off guard with all their names right
It's
now.
okay. But yeah.
But if it wasn't for the history of those women, we wouldn't be here talking. So thank you to them for sure.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Well, once again, thank you. On behalf of Brian and myself, thank you so much. And I hope we definitely look forward to part 2.
To part 2, get some questions going now.
Yes, ma'am.
Get some questions, Matt and Brian.
I will.
All right. We'll see you.
I'll be in touch with you.
Hey, everybody, it's Morty.
It's Brian.
And thank you for watching today's episode of Developmentally Speaking.
If you could, please click that subscribe button.
And don't forget to punch that bell icon so you can get notified whenever we go live or drop a new video every Monday. Well, thanks for watching, guys. And we'll see you on the next.
Developmentally speaking.